Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode. I am here today. We're going to dive into a topic. I'm here today with the incredible Jane Petite. Jane, welcome.
Hey.
Hello. So, today we're going to dive into a topic that is very close to home for so many recruitment business owners, including myself. And how are you going to know if this is you? This is all about, by the way, this is the big biller to what we call the recruitment leader. It's about how you can scale faster and how you can make more without doing it all yourself. Because I remember, Jane, I can remember the time when, you as an individual or me as an individual, you're smashing the billings, but you're in that position where it's like, I can't take a day off. If I take a day off, everything's going to fall apart. Like the business is thriving, but only while I am in it, running it, controlling
Yep.
it, and making sure that I'm there 24/7, and not being able to really take that time off. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, it's that fear, isn't it? God, if you booked a 2 week holiday that you've earned the money, you've got the commission in the bank. But actually, if you go away for 2 weeks, then you're resigning yourself to being under target 2, 3 months down the line because you are the nucleus, is that a real word? You are the middle of everything.
It's exactly, it's like the ticking time bomb. And it's a really powerful way, actually, of looking at your business because you might be a recruitment business owner and you're making great money. But the question is, are you actually building a business or are you just exhausting a job with a ton of extra steps? And we can say this because we've both been there. So this is always every podcast, every session that we run is always a non-judgment zone. This is us sharing from the heart because I can remember running my recruitment desk. I can remember watching my billings grow. But I can also remember watching, my sense of freedom, if you like,
Yeah.
disappear, right? And it's a trap that so many of us fall into. And this is really what this episode is about. It's about how, if you're in that trap, if this resonates with you, how do you step up? How do you step up from being that big biller to scale your business faster, make more, but without becoming what we call that chief of frigging everything officer?
Yeah.
Because, let's face it, when you're at the center of everything, then really, you just created a job for yourself, but with, a very fancy title.
Yeah. Yeah, and we always say that, don't we? That if you're a business owner, but if you can't walk away from your business for 3 months and it still delivers month on month, then that it's still a job. You're just a job, but you've got the title of founder.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. So let's talk about why. Why is it so difficult for, uber successful billers to make that transition into true leadership, which is where they want to be? So, we've got these people who are big billers. They're absolutely great at billing. They want to then build a team. They want to build a business around them, but everything is sort of stalling. It's at this point. What what are some of the things that we see that are stopping those people from scaling?
I mean, mindset obviously comes in, doesn't it? A lot here. And I remember at a pivotal point in my career moving from management to director.
Mm.
And my old manager at the time going, the longer you think that only you can do this, the slower your progression will be. And it really hit home for me
Mm.
because I was, I am that classic recruiter. I was good at recruitment
Mm.
from Katy, you were my boss many years ago. I was good at recruitment. And I worked really hard. Like I spent time with clients. I really understood candidates. And I genuinely had a decent ego.
Mm.
I thought no one else could do it as good as me. And
Mm.
actually, I suppose a pivotal point for me was when I realized I could train and coach people to do what I did.
Mm.
But for a very long time, and I think this is true of many business owners, this is my business. I've nurtured it, I've grown it. I've got the client relationships. I'm really good with candidates. Nobody can match like I can. And that thinking
Mm.
is actually becomes our fundamental downfall
Yeah.
because we have to figure out if that's our blocker, we need to change that thinking straight away and go, right, how? How can I make somebody sell like me? How can I teach somebody to match like me? What are the steps that I need to take? And if you do that pivotal, I know we're going straight to solution, which is very unlike me. Um, but that's the pivotal thing, isn't it? You've got to, first of all, accept that actually, if you bill 500,000 a year, I'm sure we can find someone that bills 510. If you do 1 million, we can probably find someone that does 1.2. Like there will always be somebody better than us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Opening ourselves up.
100%. Because you're exactly right. I mean, what you're talking about is this kind of control factor that I think we can all sort of lean into and resonate with, which is that, as you say, we think nobody can sell like us, or we're worried that no one can handle our clients like we do. And maybe at the beginning that could be right, they're not going to handle it in exactly the same way, but the thing is, if that's our mindset, like you're saying, it creates that ceiling, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like that ceiling of, okay, every single road here is going to lead to me. But if we want to grow the business at the same time, as we love saying, money you can make, right? But time and energy are finite. And so we can't create more time. We absolutely have to look at how we use that time. And there's a big gap in leadership that I don't think enough people talk about, which is that these recruiters, we've got great recruiters. Well, we saw it, didn't we, in the business, right? You've got a super biller, they're absolutely awesome at billing, but they've never had to lead a team. And the reason that they haven't had to lead a team is because they've been in that billing role. And the thing about that is it's a completely different skill set. So what happens then is that as that top biller, you decide you want to build your business, but because you don't have that skill in place, you end up getting sucked into every part because, like you're saying, it's like, oh my goodness, I can't let this person deal with that client because they're not going to do it in my way. And you're absolutely right. The solution is to look at the process. But what happens for these people before they get to that point is that if they're hitting that ceiling, they have to find a way within that mindset to let go. And that means find a way in which they can put those systems and processes in place. And there are some stages that they need to do to do that. And the first step is to actually get really clear on you and where you're most in flow. What is your superpower?
Yeah.
Because if you can't spend all of your time just selling because you need to, be doing other aspects, then what are the tasks that you're going to delegate or automate or systemize? Like, how are we going to restructure somebody's role so that we can take certain things off them? And then they're going to have time to actually do the management capabilities and then put the processes in place for their team to do that.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely about stopping to try and being that chief of everything, isn't it? That chief of everything, and then stepping into that.
Yeah.
So you're right. It's absolutely about mindset. And this is a shift that you have to make from that big biller to that business builder, as we call it. And that's the fundamental difference, which is one is about personal performance, the other is about orchestrating the performance of others, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think you've got to want that as well. And I think there'll probably be people listening to this who actually love billing and
Yeah, 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 yeah.
really love the deal, the close, and actually set up a recruitment company because they were bored of billing for somebody else. And maybe theoretically that's also okay. You can stay as a solopreneur and that's fine. But if you want to grow and scale a business, there's got to be a point when you go, actually, if it's just me trying to find someone else like me, then that's a business partner. So we are talking about different things here between a solopreneur that's just a high biller and lives a lovely lifestyle, but will be tied in essence to their desk, to somebody who truly wants to grow a recruitment company. Because at some
Mm.
point, Katie, as both you and I know, you have to step away from billing.
Yeah, you do. I mean, whether you think it's risky or not, ultimately, you're right. It leads to more revenue if you do. And that's the crazy part. There's this gap that absolutely has to happen. You have to understand that for your team to step up and for you to bill more, And for you to get the freedom that you started the business for in the first place, it is exactly that. You have got to find a way to do that. Now, there is a way in which you do that, where you move from being that bottleneck in your business. And that first step is actually about understanding that you've got to delegate things. That's almost like the first transition, isn't it?
It is, and getting really clear on what it is that you do, down to the minute detail, like what's getting in your way. And what my thought process on this is always, if I had to pay someone else to do this task for me, what would that task value be?
Mm,
Um, and then my next mindset is, although it's easier for me to do this right now because it's quicker, because actually the thought of telling somebody else what I do is quite painful. How many days, hours, minutes do I spend doing this? And actually, if I was to take 3 steps back, how long would it take me to create that as a process and give that to somebody else?
mm.
When you can take those, and this again is thinking like a leader, not a recruiter. When you can take those steps back, let me try and give you an example. So, right, job vacancies. I've been taking job vacancies for years. Like I know my patter. I know what I have to say. I know how to close. I know how to timetable, etc. Theoretically, for me to teach somebody else that, I've got to get that all out of my head into a process and a system. Easier nowadays with AI. How long will that actually take me? Probably, really, 3 to 4 hours in a room on my own with no distractions whatsoever and a lot of coffee. And then I'll come out of that with a process. And then off the back of that, I'll have a plan of how to teach other people to do that. And then boom, suddenly I've now got a job verification process in my business. Possibly not the best example, but you see where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
that whole step back of how long. I worked with a business owner once, and their job on the way into work every day was to pick up milk. And I teased him and went, I'm not being funny, but every day you spend 10 minutes getting out your car, going to get milk, getting back in the car, taking it to the office. And that's 50 minutes a week. What could you do with that 50 minutes a week if maybe somebody that's not on, a six-figure salary plus got the milk? And yeah, it's a crude example, but 50 minutes a week. Do the maths.
Well, I think it's a great one actually, because we see this pattern repeat, don't we, with clients sort of after clients. And actually a great example is somebody like what you're talking about here is like Katy, right? Where Katy realized that actually what was happening was she was stuck in the business, she was working a 60-hour week, and actually she couldn't take a vacation, and she was billing at a reasonable level, but actually she was the one who was billing. So like 90% of her revenue was coming from her, and I think 10% or whatever was coming from 2 or 3 other people in her business. So in order for her to get that financial freedom and also time freedom, well, she had to realize that she had to put things into a system. But also, what you're talking about there with the milk is she had to get things off her plate
Yeah.
that had what we call that low value, but actually, and we'll talk about hourly rate in a minute, but lower value that she was actually doing. So, for her, it was about, okay, I've got to embody this leadership role, even though it might feel uncomfortable. I've got to start to break some of the habits that I've got in place. So whether that is, like we're saying, solving a big problem or jumping in on the types of tasks that other people should be doing, or that she could delegate to somebody
Yeah.
because she thought she had to do it. And that is a big difference, because when you as a director, owner, when you set the direction and you actually focus on strategic growth, it's the classic, isn't it? Working on the business rather than in the
Yeah.
business, right? And you're not putting out the fires, you're not getting stuck in these operational details, like we were talking earlier, weren't we, about somebody who might be, I don't know, credit control, right? Or they might be emptying their bin in their desk, or I don't know, it's not a very good example, getting the milk, right? Going and buying the coffee around the corner. When they actually stop doing those things and then they focus on the higher value tasks in
Yeah.
the business, that is when the transition starts to happen. That's when things start to move in their business. They become that orchestrator, but also they're getting, they're really working on key aspects of of the business that is really going to accelerate the growth, not just keep the business ticking over.
Yeah.
So, should we just talk about what that is? Because we share an exercise that we do in our program, don't we, with our clients, that we use all the time that actually works really well with this transition. So, I think it'd be worth us sharing this. And this is something that identifies what you're uniquely brilliant at, or what we like to call your inflow. And it also identifies what you should be not doing. So, what are the things that I need to stop doing, and what are the things that I need to do more of? So, Jane, let's just walk through somebody. If we've got somebody here, they're listening. What's the kind of basic stages that we would do? How would they run that exercise?
Very simply, because people love us when we ask them to do this, it's recording your time. Like precisely. I don't mean sort of like looking back and going, what just happened in the last hour? We're talking about snatching time at 15 minutes, creating a very simple code. So you're not spending 15 minutes writing out what you did the 15 minutes before,
Yeah.
and actually putting down what you've done. It's such a cool tool because, and then we can, once we've got 3 days worth of data, you can then summarize that all together and go, okay, so I've spent 4 hours resourcing. That's interesting because what do we normally pay a resourcer versus what I pay myself? I spend 2 hours on LinkedIn over 3 days. Is that too much? Is that not enough? Like, but we get to see actual bulk data
Yeah.
of where you spend your time. And I think the classic is for most of the business owners that you and I work with is in the 3 days we get them to map, I think very few show up and we see, 6 hours working on the business, 2 hours in strategy,
Mm.
which is if you were to go and speak to a CEO, that's what we expect them to do. Somebody with that title, we expect them to be telling us how they spend hours and days strategizing and building their business, not necessarily stopping at the shop to get the milk, doing the resourcing, interviewing a candidate. That their jobs of a recruiter.
Yeah, exactly. So this is what we call a time audit process. And it really does. I mean, it's quite a sobering exercise, but it really does it focus you in on the things that are actually sucking up your time. And so when you then know what those things are, you can actually, as Jane said, you could look at, hold on a minute, is this a task that I should be doing? Now, another exercise that we also get you to do is look at, well, what are the things that you love? So if you're looking at everything that you've got on that list, what are three things that you struggle with or that you least like? And then what are three things that you love, and highly likely you're most productive of those as well? And then you can take those and actually calculate how many hours you spend in each of those areas. Because when you then look at, okay, how much of the time am I spending in the area that I'm most productive at and I love? And then how much time am I spending on the things that I don't? And you can actually look here at what your hourly rate is. And a really quick way for you to work out how many hours you're spending on those areas is to say, right, what's the business currently billing? And then you could look at what it's billing. And that, by the way, you can divide that by the hours that you're working. That gives you your true hourly rate. When you look at, if I was working in my area of strength where I'm productive, if I was spending 70 to 80% of my time in that area, which arguably is going to have a much higher hourly rate for you. So let's say your hourly rate is £400, right? But you're spending 20% of your time on sales pitches, which is what you're brilliant at and what you love, and 80% of your time on tasks that are operational or sucking your time up but low value, then actually you're potentially burning money. This is the reality. So we want to be really, really clear that we're spending our time on the tasks that give us the greatest return. And, I mean, our clients describe this realization as, it's like, oh my God, like literally, this is an aha moment. It is seeing the business through a completely different lens, because I suddenly realize, where am I spending my time? Why am I hitting this ceiling of growth and revenue?
Yeah.
Like, I'm overworked, I'm stressed. And it's understandable because I'm working so much out of my flow zone and out of my flow zone on what we call low value tasks. So it's a really powerful approach. And this is all about working smarter, not harder. So it's all about what do you want to automate? What do you want to eliminate? And what do you need to delegate? As we said at the beginning here, it's about the best use of your time. Um, and we talk about this because we even use a quote actually by Ferrari, don't we? Which is in order to make the car go faster, you actually need
Make it
to make
lighter.
it lighter. So this is shedding the weight, really. It's because the weight is holding you down or it's slowing you down. So it's all about what are you doing in your business and how are you working most effectively. And we get our clients to do this every single time they join us. It's one of the first exercises we actually do when they come and work with us because it's what we call clearing the clutter. Like you just shed all this shit, excuse my language, but you shed all this shit. You realize where you're most in flow. You realize where your value is. And that gets you working in the tasks and the areas that you actually love. So it's a win-win all round, isn't it?
Yep, categorically.
So I've got a question, which again is a powerful one that we love to ask our clients. If you walked away from your business for a month, would it still make money? Now, if the answer to that is no, then the reality is you don't have a business. You do have a billing desk, it's got your name on it. But actually, does your business run without you? And this is what we were talking about earlier, which is that systematic process to ensure that you've got consistency and performance. And this is what Jane was talking about. It's like taking that genius that is in your head and putting that into a systemized, like repeatable, scalable
Yeah.
process. So, Jane, you've got examples I know of clients where this is happening, and maybe like you're saying, they're a brilliant salesperson, but actually, how do they get that out of their head and onto paper?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about before, and I'm working with somebody right now, and this is the steps that we're going through. And there is a degree of, dare I say, coming out of flow whilst you go through this model to get you more into flow. So you can spend more time in your kind of superpowers, as it were.
Mm.
For most of it is just process. I've got a really it's my favorite analogy at the moment, and it may or may not resonate. Let's go with it and see what happens. If you think about the recruitment journey or the recruitment business as a production line, as a conveyor belt,
Mm.
theoretically, if part of that conveyor belt breaks, or in our case, leaves, what we should be able to do is just plug in the new part.
Mm.
I think in so many small recruitment companies, when somebody leaves the business, if you're a business owner, you do most of the sales, you've got a resource, so that resource leaves, you're then like, oh, I've got to hire again. And that's going to be painful because I've got to teach somebody. Whereas if everything in your business is mapped, and this is possibly the dollar side of what we do, but such a game changer for recruitment companies, such a game changer. If your performance and processes are, I'm going to say written down because I'm late 40s, but saved somewhere, and it's a set process that everybody goes through, then you've got a business that is scalable and systemized. Katy, we joked about it before we came on, but in the business where we worked together many years ago, we had a job spec form, and I, honest to guys that can see us, if you're not listening, is it was frigging huge. Like it wasn't just a piece of paper, it was huge, and we had to write on it and scribble on it. But the first day when I turned up at my job as a senior consultant, it was on my desk, and I was like, okay, cool, that's how we take jobs here. These are the processes that you need in your business for everything. It's the cup of tea theory. Like, how do you take your tea? This is, I have it with milk. I have a little bit of collagen in mine, sweeteners, etc. Same as when you're running a recruitment company. If you're CEO of everything, we need to get stuff out of your head and into, and when I say process, I mean, I'm from South Yorkshire, guys. We keep it pretty simple here. I mean, have it frigging written down so you can go, guys, this is the process, this is the script. The lady that I'm working with at the moment, she is an outstanding salesperson. and probably one of the best of what she does in the business, and we want her to spend more time selling. She's also really good at account management. So
Mm.
what we're going to do is we're going to map what she says when she does service calls, when she does account management calls. We're going to take all of her words, we're going to script it, and then we're going to teach her delivery consultants how to say the words that she knows gets the best results. So we're going to create
Yeah.
like mini versions. And these are obviously all the processes that we go through to allow people to spend more time in flow.
Yeah, and what you're talking about there is again, it's such an important part, and it's generally where a lot of recruitment business owners, entrepreneurs just hate it or they're not good at it. Well, I say they're not good at it, that's not fair. They don't like it, and that's why they're not good at it, because it doesn't interest them. But this is where we absolutely help our clients. It's a big part of what we do because we literally model the client, extract that information with all the unique abilities that that person has that's in their head, and put it into a really simple process that can be followed by others. And I know, we have used the example, like, whether you're using a McDonald's or whether you're using, dare I say, Wolf of Wall Street, who, had that penny pitch, and he literally like gave it word for word verbatim to those guys, taught them how to do it. And this is where you then have people being able to follow to exactly the quality and the standard that you give to your client. So it removes that concern that you've got about, oh, my client's going to get the same consistent, high quality service level value from us. Yes, they will, because it's in a process. And then you teach that to your team. And that's really what we're talking about here, isn't it? Having that process in place that people can follow. And you're right. I mean, we used it, didn't we? We used it at Spire, we had it at PFJ. And it made the difference because people walked in, and from day one, when it comes to hiring and getting people up to speed in your business as quickly as possible, the systems do a lot of the legwork, and it's so easy for people. They literally, okay, that's great, I just follow the system.
Yeah. You know you've got it nailed if you've got a team of recruiters and a new person and they say something and then somebody else, not you, taps them on the shoulder and goes, no, we don't say it like that here. We say it like this.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to create like little
Robots.
mini phone monkeys or robots. No.
Yeah.
What we're saying is that this is the language that is successful. Add your flair to it if you want to, deliver it beautifully. But actually, um, be careful. I'm conscious that I can go miles off track here, but let's roll with it. The big difference, Katy, between saying to somebody, Katy, have you got any other jobs? Have you got any other interviews? To Katy, tell me, where else are you interviewing this week? Same question, two massively different answers are coming there. So if we know that the language is tell me, not can, then we write that into a script and we teach our people. I just heard you saying can. Like, we don't say that here. We say tell me because it's got a much better response. So, and these are, I mean, we're really getting into the weeds of the detail here, but if you're a CEO, and I was that biller, so it really resonates with me. I just thought nobody could do what I did. And I would also tell you that I wasn't particularly outstanding. I just worked really hard. But actually, all I had to do was teach people what I said. But the best way to teach people, first of all, was to get it out of my head and into a process. And again, we're talking about the world that's so much easier now. Like, you can just sit in front of a screen and record yourself and then throw it into a transcript, and then you've actually got your own physical words. Hey, there's no more of the handwriting that we would have done back in the day, as it were. So these are tiny, tiny little things that you need to impact into your business when you want to scale it up from being you and a small team to actually having people that can deliver the level of service and have the communication that is needed in recruitment, because so much of what we do comes down to communication.
Yeah, it's true.
It's got to be processed. It can't just be listen to me and say what I say, because we all know people hear something completely different
Yeah.
to what you're actually saying.
And, you touched on something else that's really important as well, which is people, right? And if you want to build that high performance team, if you want to move yourself from that biller into that role, and you really want to scale that business, then having that training program will actually attract the right types of candidates to you as well, and as you're saying, also enables them to bill at the same level as you. So this is where your business model, your hiring processes become critical, because you need the right people and the right processes. If we don't want to get stuck in that, chief of everything mode, and we want to escape it, then we've got to have the right accountability frameworks. We've got to have the right performance metrics, but also we need to be able to motivate people to excel, to become those high performers, to drive the revenue that you want to. And so this is where, we also want to be thinking about those aspects, as well as, market positioning and things like that. Are we attracting the
Yeah.
right types of clients, and are we attracting the right types of people? Because that's when, these aspects, when we also add these aspects into it, this is where, moving into that high performance team, we're talking about like 8 figure business. That's where we're able to do that. And so this is what we're talking about, really, is making sure that you've got all of these systems and processes in place, and not just the systems, but also attracting and retaining and motivating the right people, isn't it?
Yeah, because I suppose that's a linchpin of what I didn't say. It's all very well if you're getting your processes and your skills out of your head. You still need to hire the right people to deliver them.
Yeah.
There is, and knowing who that right person is that's gonna partner well in your business, which obviously again is something that we talk about a lot at Centered Excellence, is understanding your team dynamics and who sits where. That all there's lots of cogs in this. Uh,
Mm.
but it's all bite-sized for me, this, and goes back to kind of how we started this conversation. If you choose that actually I want to be a business owner and I want a business that I can step out of, and every decision that you make from that point on comes back to, why am I doing this? Is this helping me get closer to freedom
Mm.
or further away? And is that fueling? And occasionally there might be times that you go, do you know what? Actually, I've got to step back in. And I'm consciously choosing to do that. I'm consciously choosing to pull on my recruitment. I worked with a client last year, actually, and they did a huge amount of recruitment expansion, then went, "Ooh, shit, cash flow." And went, actually, we've got to dive into the business for 3 months. And they made a very conscious choice. They dove in the business for 3 months. They got cash flow back under control. And then they stepped out again. Like, it was calculated. That's fine.
Mm.
But this is what, you've got to decide. And if you're a business owner listening, that's my first question to you is, have you decided that you actually want to run a company, or do you just want a high performing desk? Because they are very different things.
Yeah, and both are okay, by the way. That it's yeah, it's not that you want to have one or the other. But you're right, this goes back to your intention or your why about what is it that you want to build. And you can have a small and mighty team as well. Like, how many I see some great recruitment businesses out there that have got, what I would call a past top biller, but maybe they've got some processes and systems that support them. And that can be tech and people, by the way. But they've got those systems and processes in place. But ultimately, they are still part of the business development strategy. But actually, then they've got, a small team behind them that are doing the delivery. And I can think of two, really great clients like that. Like Michelle's a great example. She's a
Yeah.
£1 million plus biller. But she's got a team of 2 or 3 people supporting her, and not all of those work full time as well. They can be part time. So you can have that really small, mighty team, still have a highly, highly profitable business. You don't have to scale to dizzy heights in terms of people to do that. But you're working smartly, aren't you? That's what we're saying here. If you want to get that time back, if you want to get time, money, freedom, which is what I hear so many recruitment businesses
Yeah.
owners say that, they want to move from that trap, like we're saying, of big billing, of being the big biller and trying to build a business, but it runs without me. And I can't, I just can't get anywhere, to working smarter, setting up systems, and feeling like they're really leading. I hear that a lot. I want to be in a leadership role, Katy. I'm ready to lead. I want to move from feeling like I'm stuck in this business 24/7 to getting that potential growth, and ultimately fulfilling what I want in the business, and that the business works for me. I don't just work for the business.
Yeah, yeah, no, I completely agree. Yeah, it it's not, is it? It's just not about working harder. It's just about working smarter
Yeah.
and being consciously a leader instead of consciously a doer.
Yeah, and that's, I think that's, yeah, it's kind of wrapped us up quite nicely, isn't it? It's this is a way that gives you time, money, freedom, the opportunity to grow your business, and the opportunity, if you then have the decision about what you want to do with that business. Do I want to sell it? Do I want to do a management buyout, or do I want to stay in it? And it's a lifestyle business, but it doesn't suck everything, out of me. And then I feel like, yeah, I'm just a cog in this wheel. So, Jane, thank you. I think to say to our leaders, look, if this episode hits hit home, and you want some extra support on this, one, we are giving away that exercise that we mentioned in today's session, that take back control tool that you can use to help identify what you should be delegating, automating, eliminating. So we'll pop that in a link below this podcast. You can download that. And that will include the exercises, or one or two of those exercises that we covered with you today. And this will really help you, where you can, double, triple the results. And of course, if you want to reach out to us and have a conversation, you can do that too. So we'll put that below this episode. So thank you for joining us. Remember, your time is more valuable than money, so invest it wisely, and your business will thank you for that. So until next time, keep building, guys. And Jane, thank you so much for being with me again
Anytime.
today.
See you later, guys.